So it begins. Hello, everyone. I'm just some person who's talking online. I hadn't given a talk in a while, and I felt that moment had come. That moment came where I was like, all right, let me sit down and talk about something. And I thought, what better to talk about than Mr.Within's explanation of where everything is going, or Mr.Within's explanation on where everything is going. So first of all, I'll start from here. That to explain to the viewers who is explaining. This could be mainly an episode for those who've tuned into this before, but I'm going to try to give it a new. So the idea is that a human being realized he is a temporary being, temporary human on Earth, and so asked himself what is the most valuable effort or type of work that a being can do. This human being came into this conclusion that if I am temporary, then I must put my energy and attention on that which is, let's say, priority one, or that which is important. So what is more important than knowing what's going on? So this lecture is for those people who want to hear at least one human being. There's 8 billion of us, but I'm one human being. I have a capacity to communicate in such a way, and I'm going forth, right? So this is what I'll say. Mr.Within's explanation. Or maybe I should have titled it Mr.Within's explanation for where everything is going. So first we have to realize that it's a situation, and the situation has multiple factors. And if anybody wants a one-sentence answer, the question is not what does a physical creature do in a physical world. The question is, what does consciousness, which is a question mark for all of us still, what does consciousness do with infinity? Okay? So when you wonder about your body's life, you see its destiny. But when you wonder about your mind's life, the mind is a simulating reality machine. It's a reality simulator, right? So every human being has an advanced reality generator, simulator, however way you want to see it. But your brain gives you access to a rendition of reality that has been filtered through your senses. So when a human being is giving an explanation, right, that explanation has levels to it. That means, what is the explanation for the physical going ons in the world? What is the explanation for all the mental maneuvers that are going on? It's not, that means what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to be like, hey, human species, guess what? Nobody knows, but let's figure out. And in the effort to try to wonder about the deepest mysteries that stand as on pillars of reality in our unconscious. Carl Jung has this quote where he says, if you don't make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. It means if you don't figure out what you're not seeing in your blind spots, you can't upgrade. Okay? So my strategy was like, yo, Past people have talked about the past. There's history podcasts and lectures from the past. And then you have people talking in the present about present issues. But all present issues are, their value of the issue is based on where everything is going. So so your intelligence ascends when you begin caring for the future of reality. That means all those people, let's say, who suddenly have children, you're caring for the presence of the reality you're carrying. Do you see? That means life becomes important as intelligence takes a position within it. So the question has to be, what is Mr. Within explaining? That means before we want to see where everything goes, we want to see what it is, we come to this hilarious realization: the educational system taught us life as in photographs, in snapshot moments of like fixed value. But when you look at life, it's a dynamism. That's why the word spirit is very profound. You know, whether in religion you have the idea of like Holy Spirit, or whether you have in like culture, you know, the spirit of an age, the spirit of swordsmanship, the spirit of writing, the spirit of speech. Do you see? It was as if it was the way in nowhere things animated that led to the fascination that led to mythology. Where I'm going with this is that I have created a moment for myself to say it all. But what is there to say? I guess I'll create the timeline starting from myself. So when I think about, first to answer, okay, the levels we see life, the way we categorize it, you know, there is a maturity in being responsible for physicality, the physical aspects of your living experience, and then there comes a time where you need to be responsible for what's looking through your eyes. And what's looking through your eyes is not per se a creature, but it's a force seeking purpose. You know, this is a foreign idea to the creature that had to be a specific shape all the time. But when life is a dynamism, you suddenly see it's not magic, right? It's not like magic. It's like in a changing world, many selves are taking shape as memories of us. You know, that means if somebody, like, imagine like from an aerial view we saw like all human beings, and we were like, yo, this human being, let's go see what kind of past this human being has had. Let's go see what sort of a census of self has this unknown attention like wind passed through. Do you understand? And let me tell you what happens. The more you realize, you become comfortable with your own mind, the more you experience moments like cities. That means your mind, your inner realms, there are sectors to your mind. And the outer realms, give it like 400 years, people are going to come and like protest, like, we need to have sectors, we need to have a sober sector of civilization, we need to have like an industrial sector of civilization on capsuled from like everything else. Do you know what I'm saying? The world is going to dance. It hasn't started dancing yet. It's as if we're like a giant is sleeping, and every human being that's alive now is woken up on the shoulder of the sleeping giant, and we're like, yo, life is so peaceful. Of course, the giant hasn't started dancing yet. So when the sleeping giant wakes up, that's when the advanced humanity arises. That humanity will be a safe humanity. That would be a safe species. That would be like every human being is standing in the honor of that. You are representing the human form if you look human. Do you know? Like I might one day, like my lectures might be, scolding androids for like intervening in like human authenticity. You know what Honestly, the way I've on my real name is Amin Javan Ansari. Okay, I'm Iranian, but I've lived in Canada pretty much my whole life. So technically, when I go to Iran, I don't even feel Iranian. You know, I feel like a cultural, bicultural mutant, guys. I don't know how to explain. you know, it's as if like if there was a bridge between Iran and Canada, I'm like living somewhere in the middle there. But honestly, let me tell you what my efforts are. My efforts are to stop seeing human beings in specific categories, so then I have like subconsciously opted into like judgment. The way I've understood is that it feels way more real to me to treat everybody as if these are unknown beings around me. Right now, I'm speaking to unknown beings, right? So, with that consideration in mind, it's as if I take the humble route. The humble route is like, all right, I don't know anything. That was the huge like spiritual lesson recently I've had, right? That it was kind of like, yo, you think you know? You think that an ego, which is a subject, which is not even an object, which doesn't even technically physically exist, is the focus of the whole life. Do you know what I'm saying? It's as if the human being, the human perception has a power, and its power is to, in some sense, see ahead of its own valuation, its own value. We can notice greater values outside of ourselves. The human being is honestly like a system placed inside a concentric circle of systems. A part of me has a truly deep care for the species. I don't know. I think it's because like I've lived selectively as a lonely person, you know. It's like, yo, it's like, oh my God, history was written by introverts or extroverts. Who knows? You know, it was probably like made by extroverts and then written by introverts. And so in the wastelands of my introversion, I suddenly asked myself, if there was an honor system, imagine the knights of the round table, imagine the samurai, imagine the human beings who lived for the greatness of kingdoms that cared for all kingdoms. Do you know what I mean? There's like in India, there's a story of Janaka, the enlightened king. And it's so funny because the idea of power is that people don't actually understand what wanting power is. I'm telling you. And I don't act like I understand the full extent of it, but I've understood it is that power doesn't belong to anyone. It is used in accordance to requirement. Do you know what that means? That means when Vegeta from the anime DBZ like wondered why Goku, this like humble, silly guy, was way a silly, playful guy, was way more superior ahead than this guy who had an ego of constantly making people be lesser than him, constantly having to prove to himself that people are lesser. Do you know? That was Vegeta's, path, right? But Goku, this other character, he like there's a quote even by him. I have a hobby of just like roaming through like endless quotes online. And so Goku has this character, this archetype of a righteous, victorious character. Looks at this character who's always like one step behind and missing something, right? And he looks at him and he says, "Power." I don't remember it verbatim, but I think it's something like, power comes to those not because they have a desire, but it comes out of necessity. Power comes out of necessity. It doesn't come out of desire, which means that it's an interaction with a higher framework to the context of reality, right? It's not just about what you look like in the mirror, it's about what everything that you see means to you. And that, to us humans, it enters into the domain of language. This is why I was saying, like in some of my talks, if the educational system is going through reform, it should consider an organism's approach, not just the human. This is like what the humans of that century had to do, so let's just keep it up. That's ridiculous. The advanced humanity deserves an advanced, ancestors. That means they need to see us at least try. They need to see us go to civilization and be like, why haven't you advanced yet? Who's running this place? And the question comes that the desire for control limited the desire to even be able to control something better. That means evil is illogical to a civilization that's in a process of advancement. And evil people know this. It's not even the shunning of, it's not even the wrath of the creator issue. It's just that, the lesser beings have to realize you either upgrade or your world upgrades. So if a good person's upgrading the world and an evil person's trying to reduce the percentage of that upgrade, is trying to nullify that upgrade, that's idiocy. That's freaking waste of energy and time. Do you understand? So we need the freaking supremely compassionate-minded grandchildren of the most powerful people on this planet to be like, yo, Mr. Within, you're right. What are we doing not advancing civilization all the time? Do you know what I'm saying? That means the future generations are going to roar even louder than me. I'm just the first person who suddenly entered this room that's going to be filled with millions and billions in the future. Do you know the honor of the advanced civilization doesn't belong to one man? This is why I don't even, it doesn't even bother me if for me, it's kind of like I feel like a delivery guy. These, when I'm giving these talks, at first I'm like, yo, is this the feeling of some glimmer of vanity? And then I was like, nah, man, you're just a delivery guy. Deliver, go, deliver, go. Do you know? And I realize I'm not honestly giving these talks for people who are alive now. I'm kind of talking to the whole cosmic expanse, because I think at some part of me was scared by the existential implication of all life, right? And because it was scared, it attacked the unknown. I feel my mind got scared from the unknown, and in its retaliation, showered the unknown with as much with the infinitude of the imagery of worlds. Do you know what I'm saying? So that means it's like, what ability does a human being, the modern human being, have? Imagine some dude coming home after work and an alien comes, and the alien's like, yo, I want to see your powers and ability level. And the dude's like, I'm just tired coming home from work. But you see that it's like you're pushed into a situation where the might of your soul will reveal itself to itself. And the might of the soul is not wrath and destruction, because that should be assumed that it's under higher administration. That means what man doesn't know, God had known before we were even designed. You see, the reason I wasn't, let me tell you this. When I realized the options in life were not like God or no God, it was like, are you worshiping yourself, or are you worshiping that which is beyond yourself? Worship means attention is locked on. Do you know? So anyways, my explanation, if for where everything is going, it's I can speak as far as my own world views, but my own world views go far because I write science fiction, and I've envisioned the first sci-fi thing I wrote was set in the year 5025. The world and society at that time was divided between the traditionalists and the futurists. The traditionalists were all beings who had chosen, who knew there was infinitude, who knew there was immortality, but had chosen to live as temporary. So human beings are like traditionalists in my sci-fi novel, right? But then, like aliens that never die, spirits, consciousness, robots that are immortally like preserved, all of these were the futurists in the story. Beings that were continued, like, see, if time was not an, imagine right now you were immortal. Just imagine you could never die, and you had like immortal, like, immortal problems. It's like, man, like, how long am I gonna see these seasons pass? Like, how many millions and billions of years am I just gonna keep seeing shape after shape after shape? What is the point? Oh, truth of worlds. What is it that I am seeing? The advancement of the human species is the greatness of humanity. So this is what Mr. Within's explanation of where everything is going. This is going to be amazed. This is going to amaze you what I'm going to say. Where everything right now in this world, let's call this world one, okay? In world one, and this is like self one. The who's speaking to you is like Mr. Within one. Do you know M1? Imagine every lecture I've given, that's been that day's archetype of myself. Do you know? So where am I going with this? I'm trying to imagine if everybody on the planet at the same time asked me, Mr. Within, where is everything going? Where is this world going? What would I say? Imagine, I'm just trying to visualize that moment where 8 billion human beings are like live stream hearing me, And that this question has been asked, where's everything going? And I don't have kids yet, but imagine my kids and wife are also hearing, you know. Everybody I know is like the whole species is listening. Okay, I would breathe. And then I would find peace and smile first. And I would say where everything is going is as if we had noticed that in all the creatures on Earth, the caterpillar goes through a cocoon and the archetype gets destroyed, and once the last cell of the caterpillar dies, the new cell of the butterfly emerges. And when the butterfly emerges from the cocoon, it flies, leaving the past behind because it has found a new world. It experienced what it meant to have legs. Like, imagines the soul is spiraling through creatures to reach the human position, right? So that means when we see a dog, that's a soul that probably like in 17 lifetimes is going to be like human. Like, this is just like, playful metaphysical talk, you know? But the idea of transformation, that means you who's listening to me now, in 10 years, you might be a completely different version of yourself. Now, the only argument that Mr. Within's bringing to the table is like, yo, there are literally, like, see, when I think about the past, there you can't probabilize. Why? Because it's real. You read in history books, okay, that's what happened, let's say. One version, one dimension of thought. But when you come to the present, based on what you're interacting and where you are, there are dimensions of thought. But when it comes to the future is a free-for-all. Do you understand? That means I will guarantee you, when Edison made the light bulb, or when Nikola Tesla made the AC motor, and Edison made Edison kind of sad as fuck, you know. So when Nikola Tesla invented the AC motor, all the inventor archetypes on planet Earth, all the people who've created something, they felt that, whoa, if the species only knew, it could imagine what the future would be like and it would see. Do you know? And I'm not saying these are fortunes to tell. That shit is bullshit. That's like some weird, like, you know, like monetizing spirituality is weird. It's like, do you know? Monetizing spirituality is like eating food in a restaurant, like completely naked, you know? In the movie Gladiator, that dude said, strength and honor. And now Mr. Within says, greatness and advancement. Or advanced greatness. Like, when else can you wonder about what the most advanced version of your world is? So the freedom of the future is simply that you can see probabilities. And we have not been trained in perceiving multiple layers of thought, but many have. The older generations have way more levels to their articulation than the new generations. But the new generations are creating new levels of articulation in accordance to their emotional life, right? That means, like, my approach when I saw the human species, you know, when I was young, I thought like I had enemies and friends, right? But at some point, your mindset, it becomes like an eagle that's flown so high into the sky that at some point you're like, yo, man, that's not my friend, that's not my enemy. This is my species. These are members of my species. These are DNAs that their ancestors brought them here. Do you understand? So it's as if you are a gift to the realm of man, to the realm of mankind, to the realm of humans. That you, it's like, do you know, in an advanced civilization, the moment a child is born, the advanced civilization gifts the family. Do you know, with like some advanced gift, like welcome to the world, kid, where like the advancement of civilization's waiting for you. And it's not this thing that it's like we're trying to make everybody into workaholics, okay? You know, I've chosen to focus purely on the building the advanced civilization. Like, I thought in my whole strategy for like how a species can indefinitely bypass extinctions of many kind, it has to build a shield around itself. But we have to build that shield psychologically. That means it's as if you don't know, like, there's a type of homelessness you see in like developed countries, and then there's a type of homelessness you see in developing countries, right? And in the developing countries, but the difference between, let's say Western poverty compared to Eastern poverty is that the Eastern poverty has more of a contentment. That means less of a mind that's expecting the desire. Do you know? And of course, this is not. I'm not like, I can't storify like 8 billion human beings, but I'm just saying, like, that's a sort of view. Okay. For me, I'm thinking like this. I'm thinking that, like, okay, let's say the typical view, the typical algorithm is like, yo, man, take care of yourself, take care of your, like, start a family, take care of the family unit, right? And then get old, you know, and serve civilization. And then, like, you, like, at some point, you're like, I'm too old for this life, you know? And then your consciousness starts walking towards either a new life where you've comprehended reality to the degree that time is not a nuisance. You see, dear human being, I'm not trying to be anybody's like instructor. I think that the teacher student archetypes were kind of bullshit. I think they were like some weird like thing, like, you know. Let me tell you why. Because we want advanced human beings. My standard shifted. That means right now, when I look at things, like people can call me judgmental, but I ask myself, why isn't there an advanced civilization activating? Why isn't there superior formats to the organization of human minds and human expression? Where is the actual fascination for the intellectual methods that we must use to solve reality's confusions, to get rid of the fog of manifestation? There are so many things that we don't know here, so many things we don't understand, so many ideas that come and go, and we look at them and we're like, oh yeah, and then next day we're back into a simulation, a looping simulation. So dear human being, ask yourself what the most advanced version of yourself deserves, and then walk towards that. What greater gift can be given? The future is right here. But I'm not saying, like, I'm not trying to, like, hype people up. I'm trying to say, think about it, and let's go through the logic of what's going on here in this world. Okay? Logic means let's see how reality is happening, and what sort of sequential film like sequence can we see? Because I'm personally someone who, like, my thoughts are like film previews. They're visual. So when I'm speaking, my imagination's like projecting some visual thing in front of me, and I'm just turning it into words, really. So it's like I'm literally what's the term? I'm transcribing my mind, the rhythms of my inner realms. But because it's the value of the world I have, what I mean by this is I ask myself how bizarre that I exist. Like, it's bizarre. Like, I can act normal every day, but it's bizarre. It doesn't make sense why existence is existing at all. But there's clues. The clues are like, okay, there's design. Another clue is that there's so many beings who were born before me. Another clue is that this is a system. Right? Another clue is that what is my role? Do I have a role? Do I have to move in a certain way in this world for something to happen? Is it automated? How much of my variables in my perception of life are uncontrollable? How much of them are controllable? What is the value of control? What is the point of free will? And at some point you realize the mind is not an object. So how do you use a non-objective technology? Let me tell you how. It's wielded by attention. So you have to practice concentration. You have to, this is going to sound hilarious, but you gotta zoom in or dork out into something. That means you gotta, like, master a craft. Okay, they say, like, you gotta do something 10,000 times to attain mastery. Okay. And the reason is that each time you practice, you see a variation of your own expression, right? And the idea is very simple, guys. We're temporary physical creatures. What are we doing and what are we leaving behind? So everybody, after they survive, we slow hand clap for them, and they're like, thank you, everybody who survived on planet Earth. Now help us solve the legacy of the species problem. Like, this should be something taught in university or something. Mr. Within's legacy of the species problem. What is the greatest strategy and approach for 8 billion human beings to, in some sense, go forth into the future? It's literally cool because I'm trying to bring every person who hears these talks to a level where, yo, man, your inner realms have an ability of shifting your archetypal position. It means when you look at an army, you can feel like a soldier, you can feel like a commander, you can feel like a general, or you can be someone with the archetypal ego of being raised as like an emperor or something. But ultimately you will see life is a rhythm. This is what Lao Tzu understood. That the sacredness of life is already there because it's present and animate. It's moving. Do you know the proof of divinity is that intelligence is moving in space? Like, whoa, does it get more miraculous than that? Huh? It's like, yo, man, imagine, like, I have huge concerts, like, equivalent to, like, Mr.Within lectures, you know? And they're like, how was it like, man? It's like, it was strange, man. This guy came on stage and shouted at everybody that they had to build an advanced civilization, and how they are already living, their mind is living ahead of their lives, so they can visualize an advanced civilization. If you have standards, like how advanced are your standards? Like, let me tell you, the fastest way to advance your life, just in anything you have, you are, just put the word advanced in front of it. You'd be like, holy shit, advanced, like, couch, advanced vision. For me, I feel like, that person who wants to walk in the hallway of schools, like seeing like the most advanced, you know, advanced arts, Imagine we have like martial arts and we have advanced like mental arts or something. I don't know. What I'm trying to say is probabilities. So past already happened, one layer. Present, one layer, unless we choose to be animate, and multiple layers. The future, we can imagine so many ways. Like, one day I'm going to tell the world how I write my science fiction novels, like kind of like, pass down the method. But what it is deep down, I ask myself, why am I here? And a part of me gives myself this answer that you're here to fulfill a position. That means a role. That means I'm existing to add to this theater of manifestation. It's like, no way, is the periodic table reincarnating? Nah, man, nah, higher will moves. The higher will moves it. I tested this, guys. I ran through the archetype of self glory, and I began to realize that the self is limited. So, to experience, let's say, if there are greater levels of life, you have to kind of not just accept yourself, you have to actually look at what sort of self your attention has been piloting. Because, like, here, I'll prove something to everybody. Close your eyes right now. Close your eyes and imagine a waterfall. Close your eyes right now, whoever you are listening, just for one moment. Close your eyes and imagine Niagara Falls, like the waterfall. Or some waterfall. Imagine, like, close your eyes and try to visualize a waterfall. And after you've visualized the waterfall in motion, dynamic, like the water is flowing, like a video, once you can see a video of a waterfall in your mind, like your eyes are closed, that's proof that you can see when your eyes are closed. And you have access to what, like in modern times, the old school view, imagination, futuristic view, private art studio. You don't know how many times I've like had to wait for like hours, right? And I've gotten bored and I've started living and moving in my mind. Literally, I've imagined, like, okay, if I, like, imagine you're sitting like somewhere, like, let's say you're at a bank and you're waiting, okay? And your mind suddenly is like imagining yourself at home, like cooking dinner already. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, the mind can tell, like, your imagination is an ability that it's kind of like your brain is copying and everything in, like, outside of your eyes, like outside of your body, and then it's pasting it in the presence of an unknown viewer, okay, an unknown witnesser of the whole moment, that's seeing the see like that which is looking through your eyes when you look at yourself in the mirror. That is not a shape. Do you understand the level of consciousness, like states of conscious attention we're talking about here, right? Like, if you're in a solid state of consciousness, you're pretty much seeing beings everywhere. If you're in a liquid state of consciousness, you're seeing rhythms moving in life. You're not seeing people, you're seeing the spirits of that they are present in. Do Do you know the force that is moving them? Do you know? And the same force that moves you. Right now, you think a force isn't moving me. Where do you think these words are coming from? Right? These words are coming from my ability as a human organism to in some sense, be able to envision in outside of my inner space. That means I can close my eyes and envision, for example, like the way I create sci-fi novels. Like I have to envision the whole world. Like what kind of a world do I want to bring viewers' attention in? Right? Like that's the huge responsibility of the writer. Where is he teleporting his audience? Where am I piloting the future generations? And I'm saying pretty much, yo, the advanced view is that I call this the advancement principle, right? But the most advanced view is pretty much this. Like right now, imagine if I wanted to create like an omelet, okay? I can imagine that there is someone on this planet that is that can create an omelet way more advanced than I can even imagine. Okay? That means I know that's possible, like, you know? So at the same time, what does that prove? That view proves that in any moment there is a hidden advanced way that that moment can happen. That's what it means. So what I'm saying is that when we look at civilization right now, there is a hidden advanced way it can happen. You catching my drift? It's no longer like, yo, let's fight for the glory of Rome. You know, it's become, yo, 8 billion advanced beings building an advanced civilization, considering all the advanced views of reality being the most advanced expression in their solar system, in their galaxy. Do you know, to stand with the honor that the stars do not scare us. Do you know, we have loved them before they land. Do you know, the ushering of a new humanity, fearless beyond bounds. A humanity that feels the sky is its home, not its backyard. Pretty much, I'm Mr. Within is the back is an archetype. This is how I've at least told the tale. You know, the Mr. Within archetype is literally a backup system, and at the same time, a sort of sign. Okay, let me tell you, I'm not trying to create, you know, divinity around this. I'm just trying to talk in the context of civilization and progress. Okay, the Mr. Within archetype is the notion that the whole species has to reset or re-wonder about what it is, and in some sense redesign the whole value. Do you understand? We have to retell the story of humanity, but in a greater way, so that the wars mean nothing. You know, and all these wars over land, well, here's a good argument. Consider not two-dimensional space, consider three-dimensional space. Do you know? That means in 600 years, we might have sky cities, you know, lifting, you know? The person's like, I feel so elevated today. And they're like, oh my God, my city's lifting into the sky. Mr. Within is the legend of is the archaic revival of the legend of the castles in the sky. What I'm trying to say is that the future is where greatness of all ages is going. We just have to redesign a civilization with the judgments not being on what we see, but the potential. That means we don't be like, yo, we don't care. Like this child is from this nation. Instead, it's all like, no, every DNA, every human being, just with the consideration of their lineage and legacy. Why do you think life is precious? Because it's a miracle how it's here. Why? Because your ancestors all had to do the right thing somehow. Do you understand? Like, there is no way in every person's ancestry line there wasn't like a stupid ancestor. Do you know? Some force pushed that archetype forth to pass the torch on, right? That means there's a responsibility for the cultivated lifetimes. But my personal view is not that time. See, when a person is truly religious, when their time is just godly command. Do you know there's some there, like when it comes to greater forces in this world, I'm trying to create a platform. Like if they were like Mr. Within, if there had to be a system of accessing, let's say, in quotation marks, potential higher dimensions of intelligence, how do we get this younger species to do this? I would say it starts with a contextual consideration. That means you have to consider something about the whole thing that's going on here, and then my answer can make sense, right? So the idea is, if the human biological organism is like a bell curve, okay, when it's young, it doesn't know what it's doing, then it reaches the middle of its lifetime, it really knows what it's doing, then it gets old, and regardless of how it knows what it's doing, the body's functions and systems are becoming like childlike again. So immediately the human species should create like advanced facilities for senior citizens to be capable to access technological information. Do you know what I'm saying? Like there should be like that, like the idea of that's coming now for some reason. The notion is everything, if the idea of future exists for you, then everything you see has a future. Every atom has a future. Every moment has a future. Everything has a future. The future means everything that is manifest can change, and in its changing, and it's like everything can move. So it's another way of saying every person we have ever known, from the moment we left their where we were from them, they've become so many different versions of themselves. Literally based on, it's like in Japan, they say something like the man is the room he's in. What does that mean? That means a person's self animates in accordance to how they're responding to their new environment they just stepped into. This is why when you love a human being, you're loving actually an organism that has many dimensions, an organism that could potentially be way more complicated than you, right? So it's like the cool thing is we're not immortal, but we are in the abstract visual. We have an abstract access to what it would be like. Do you understand? Our mind is kind of like an interface, right? So your imagination is a private server. All of us existing in a physical world is a public server. The public server is existential, 3D video game like, and it's elemental. That means instead of pixels, it's made from matter. Okay? Right? But when it comes to the mind, it's like, what does a human being have access to? You have access to your sensory perception, the physical world out in front of your eyes, but you also have access to a mind that, imagine right now I'm sitting in a car, my mind can imagine me pressing a button and this car suddenly flying like 100 meters into the air and stopping there. Do you know what I'm saying? And imagine a warning alarm comes from the car. Are you comfortable with this elevation, driver? And I'll be like, no, 100 meters is too high up. Bring me out down to like 50. You know what I mean? So my mind can visualize something happening that is superior than the test of reality. The mind can imagine the movement of reality in a way that reality, we haven't even created that technology yet, but we can imagine it. So the mind is living in a space where it has a permission to animate, right? So where do you think your ideas are coming from? Or even when you hear these words I'm saying, like you're 100% not hearing them the way I'm saying it based on my memories. You're hearing it based on your life, right? And guys, I'm surprised there's no comments. Is it really like there should be questions in the minds of everybody on the planet all the time? How else do we advance? An answer closes a world, a question opens it. A part of me feels that the geniuses of Earth will protect Earth before it reaches critical condition. I feel there is an incredible hope for our species. I feel that our legacy is right here. Do you know that it's like our ancestors, they had kings and queens and the archetypes. Imagine a great kingdom back in the day, right? And some peasant boy, like farmer boy, was like looking at a king pass by their village, and the king smiles at the peasant boy and says, it's like I hope to see you soon or something. Do you know? And that kid suddenly like feels like it's in the presence of like authority. Do you know? And there's suddenly a value system emerging, right? That means like that kid's like, yo, maybe I can be a king one day. Do you know? But right now, people are like, yo, maybe I could be rich one day. What the fuck is that shit? You gotta be involved with the world that you're in once. Do you know, but how does that involvement happen? What is the patience required for the correct strategy out of all the angles perceived in the moment? How do we reach that, right? When you think in the context of my species, what does my species deserve? That means, let's say I've been someone who's lived a bad life. I've made mistakes. I self-loathe myself. It's like I can't even, like, let's say, what do you tolerate myself? Imagine, but imagine an alien landed on Earth and was attacking human beings. I'd be like, what the fuck? Do you know what I mean? It would be as if, like, suddenly my life is not the significance. It's the significance of the legacy of my species. Do you know what I mean? It's like one lion roared, and then 8 billion lions roared. Do you know? And then humanity reorganized. You know, and the Universal Declaration of Rights. Do you know what I mean? That was like what you learned in grade 1. Or let's say grade 3, you know. But they don't teach you that. Why? Because to be a universal human being means that you're not choosing to be a category. Like, what is this? The world, life is a film, and we take snapshot fragments of it, and get like emotions arise, right? So I would say this to you, that Mr. Within's explanation for where everything is going, or on where everything is going, everything is a dynamism, and based on the dimensions of this massive multidimensional event. So Mr. Within's explanation is that it's I called it in one lecture the grand happening. That means this whole cosmos is an event. You are attending, do you know, a cosmic concert, okay? And the sun is performing. And when the sun lights up the day, creatures animate. When the sun left, creatures would sleep. But in these modern times, the sleepless have arose. Do you know? Which means the cycles, it's so fascinating. It's like, there was a sentence that was from a religious context. That means those who had faith in God, there were no accidents anymore. There were no mistakes. It was as if what was the higher will teaching the lower form. So it's not always about like, yo, do I need a story to be like someone who's, it's the idea of just you taking a step back, watching, just observing the moment for a moment and be like, oh, Mr. Within, I see what you mean when you say you're piloting your attention. What's actually here is your attention. Do you understand? So the secrets of reality are all about you realizing you're not a fragmented subjective archetype of a self. It's like you're not a character in a story. You are the great dance of the cosmos. There is greatness far superior than fathomable by the human mind. So man is left at the greatest station of human thought, being gratefulness. There is no superior state. And a grateful person would be like, yo, man, I am grateful for what? For how advanced life is, right? So I'm saying behind your eyes, live in how advanced your mind can at its maxed out. Like every day when I wake up, and like honestly what I do from like like how I train my mind is that, all right, a new day means, what new thing did I see? How did my world change before I sleep? For the rhythms that will guide the species, they're already there. It's like the world is just calling for surfers, you know, to surf history, to take, to in some sense max it out, right? That means I hope to see that day. That's when I would like, there would be a tear of like great gratitude in my eyes. One day, if I see somebody who's like, I'm gonna give 100,000 talks and actually completes it, right? Do you know? And not like AI supported talks. Do you know what I mean? Like keeping the original human speech art form alive. And what can a man say in a world that we can't see its edge? You know? Somebody once explained to me their panic attack, and they were like, yo, man, I don't know what to do in society, like something in those lines. And I was like, man, a good thing you're not a philosopher, because there's been moments where I've been like, what is this existence? And it's been shocking. But I've kind of like, even the shock, even the fact that I was being shocked about how existence is even here at all was like shocking, right? And I realized it's just in inner space. So I'm just like getting acquainted with how else, as a moment of intelligence, I can move, right? Because there is, let's say, the art forms that are associated. There's the art forms that are the expressions of the body. There's art forms that are expressions of the mind. There are art forms that are expressions of the soul. I'll explain what I mean by that, but it pretty much means they're unknown arts. That means they're from, let's say, somebody is so pure-hearted that when they do something, it's like the world is like protecting them, or the world is becoming their skill, or some force is there present within their craft. Do you see? But the idea is not to isolate. The idea is to integrate in the notion that what is the most advanced service of the most advanced being in the most advanced world, right? Why did Rabindranath Tagore, this Indian polymath, he said, I slept and dreamt that life was joy. He said, I slept and dreamt that life was joy. I awoke and saw that life was service. I acted, and behold, service was joy. Do you understand? So there's going to come a point where to serve the advancement of your civilization, right, will become an incredible honor. You will just see a part of your soul is yearning for its greater contribution to the realm of mankind. To live for the realm, to live for the advancement of whatever we've got. It doesn't matter. It's like, start the engines. Do you know what I mean? Like, the future is not a battle of physical level, right? Do you know what I'm saying? That means back in the day, yeah, like the guy was like, yeah, guys, this group of people go and attack with swords, that group of people. Like, that was the fucking level of fight, like generals, set playing with armies, right? But the state in the future, right? It's not a physical battles and battlefields. The future is all about how attention, how it how much attention knows it's free. It's about post pure freedom activation in life. Why? Because I think me, and like many beings on this planet, in the consideration of wanting to be the most advanced being, like I had that, let's say, desire. I wanted to be the most advanced being in manifestation, not because of others, because I wanted to see what that would be, what the most advanced state of my being could be in its purest expression, you know, the truth in its pure totality. It's like my girlfriend asked the other day, what are you thinking about? And I'm like, the advancement of the human species in one lifetime. Is it possible for one human being to advance civilization in one lifetime? That means what do I have? Like maybe 40 years on this planet? In 40 years, how? And it's trying to solve the problem. Like, even if I can't do it, at least we've solved the problem. The future generations just have to do it. What is the most advanced algorithm for an archetypal persona to contribute to civilization? And you know what it is? I've realized that we need to create celebration cultures. That means I'm practicing, this is new, but I've been practicing celebrating one thing every day. You know? Like probably after this talk, I'm gonna go like celebrate. Why? Because I envisioned it, that when a civilization starts advancing, when it truly gets momentum, when it truly speeds up, what really is going on? People will see victories, victories, victories. You turn on the news, like 10 victories globally. Oh my God, we've never had this many victories in a year. Then they suddenly see, oh my God, we had 1,000 victories, 1,000,000 victories, and suddenly systems, all systems in the human advanced civilization are taking shape. Do you know all systems of civilization are advancing because those human souls that are moving those systems are, in some sense, attempting the most advanced? Do you know that means it's like an archer who has one arrow, you know, and has pulled the bow in the furthest that his soul allows, and in some sense what has he targeted? The future. And when the fingers let go of the bow, what the target really is for human beings to get to see what the most advanced state of human civilization looks like. And then if we don't like that change, after that, I would probably just like, you know, become an interstellar traveler or something. Literally go like invest in like a spaceship or something and then like leave Earth. You know, I would go live on Mars, honestly. You know, if the civilization, you know, some reason, any reason, if the civilization stops caring for the future, if they deny you your future, there was no point to your past. What is the present waiting for? When we realize, holy shit, we were not 8 billion sheep, we were 8 billion lions, but we were raised sheeply. Raised sheeply in a sheeply world. You believe that? So in the effort to re-lionize the species, to remind us that, do you know what kind of stuff our ancestors had to live through, and we think life is hard? Life is a blessing and we just have to use its gifts. And what do I mean by use its gift? That means it's like if you can connect your training and your skill level to something that is advancing civilization, I'm telling you, I would slow hand clap for you. I don't know. For me, the idea is, it's like, imagine seeing Earth from outer space at night, and you see a city, all the city lights from outer space on a nation at night. That's like the beauty. It's kind of like, do you know, it's as if like, it's like the land was blessed with light. The world has been blessed with light. We gotta like slow hand clap for the sun, guys. Like, I don't know. Like, you know. It's like what did the audience in the MrWithin, like, you know, crowd do? They just clapped for the sun for like 2 hours. Can you Can you imagine, guys? Like, guys, if I did this, I think everybody would be like, Mr. Within, why? If I suddenly, like, hey guys, I've come out with a new program, that will heal your heart and soul. You just clap for the sun in sunlight. And imagine, like, like in that weird parallel universe, there was like billions of disciples and I had billions of people just clapping for the sun. Do you know what I mean? And suddenly it'd go in legend. There was a time where human beings would clap for the sun. Sorry, guys, I'm taking this joke way too far. Like, this is ridiculous how far I took that joke. All right, let's see, where can I go with this? Honestly, this is it. Mr.Within's explanation for where everything is going really comes down to where 8 billion human positions of attention go. One part of life is you trying to figure out what you are, who you are, what you want, what sort of world interests you. Are you a creature of chaos? Are you a creature of order? Are you a creature beyond chaos and order? Like, who are you? Like, there's a part of life that's like attending to your inner dimensions. But then when it comes to the outer dimensions, that's a collective effort, and there we need new archetypes. So the way I'm saying this to my audience, like, hey, everybody on the planet, it's time to create legends for the future. That means we need legendary initiatives. We need a strategic, it's as if, like, I want everybody to find incredible futuristic advanced angles to systems and civilization and go advance it. That means I'm saying literally becoming a world updater. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, that's inspiration enough, right? Like, at this point, I think, like, that's to update your own world and to also update the world outside if it's reasonable, right? It's so fun when you use logic in the outer realms, but in the inner realms, it's kind of like more watching, like, rhythms. It's like literally air bending and all of that, So you can close your eyes and try to treat yourself as if, what if I was a presence of my whole moment? What if I am a state of attention? What if this state of attention was created in the presence of the greatest state of attention? And what if there was a humble angle? What if I cared for life? What if I lived for life? What if I advanced life? What would be the most advanced life? How far, is the human species going to go? It's like, do I want to meet one of those, like, grandfathers in the future who's like, who's taking care of my, like, great, 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 to the power of infinity grandchild, right? So it's about the legacy of all these DNA programs that are roaming the earth. Right, so an advanced civilization would consider so many angles, but this effort has to start from somewhere. And I'm trying to, in some sense, really create an army of designers that we can, in some sense, research and create an advanced, like, blueprints to that. But I'm not at that state there. Right now, I'm kind of like attending to my own personal life and all of this. So the explanation is that the future, for now, I think it's going to a breaking point, but there's going to be a backup response by all the smartest people on the planet, right? That we suddenly create a new view and structure to the human story. You see, guys, I'm alive now, just like you guys. Okay, we're all alive now. And we have to ask ourselves, okay, what sort of narrative, global narrative, do we want to, in some sense, move in, right? So I would say it would be something that where everything is going in regards to, let's say, a political dimension. And this is just my personal vision. This is what I've written in my science fiction. That's why I'm talking about it. So pretty much what it is that all nations on Earth, they are like sub-nations. Okay, and they are sub-nations of the nation of humanity, NOH. This is something in my science fiction. Okay, and the nation of humanity is considering every human being as an unknown force. That means we don't know if a person is a soul or not, but we know that something moves that individual. right? So there is a force that moves it. So it's like an unknown intelligence of an evolutionary organism. And so this evolutionary organism has a lifespan, and in its lifespan, it's kind of like a tourist on Earth. And what is the greatest service that can be given to those who are traveling in this world called Earth? You know, one day it's going to go even surpass like nationalism, which becomes nation of humanity. So that's globalism, and it's going to surpass globalism to just speciesism. Do you know the species is going to be key, right? And the key, the species and how natural we are, right? Like people don't realize it. 2023, 2024 right now, okay? It's like this giant is asleep. The giant hasn't woken for us. The giant is probably going to wake up in the next 100 years. When that giant wakes up, it's going to be a choice of how much you want to live as a slow biological organism compared to the fast paced, information overloaded kind of cyber realm that the human mind can connect to. What we really want should be not chips in our brain. We want booths that are wave oriented, and the person goes, sits on a comfortable chair, closes their eyes, and they're inside the virtual reality. And everything's brainwave oriented, not like friggin' something in your brain, you know? Like, that's weird. I mean, excuse me, it's like, anyways. I think there's something impure about machine entering human flesh. But if it helps expand the lifespan, maybe it has to, you know? That means I'm not saying that I dislike cyberpunk reality, but I think it's too messy. It's like too sad, you know? A soulless world is a world that really is kind of lost to itself. I want to, in some sense, see like a, you know, lion-spirited species, a species that cares for its kingdom. For me, if you say, Mr. Within, do you serve a king? I would say the first authority I serve is God. That means the original power of the realm, the administrator of the realm. Then next, what do I serve? I serve it poetically in the realm of language and literature. I'm saying this. I poetically serve as if the future generations, all the children, great children who are going to be born in the future, they are wearing the crowns. They are the kings and queens, and I am serving the future of humanity, as we all are indirectly. But I'm saying let's become conscious of it and make an honor system. You know, it's like, yo man, Mr. Within suggested to a global leadership that, yo, what if we created a point system and these points could be converted into money, and all kind and helpful behavior by homeless people could be monetized? All compassionate behavior. Imagine there was a something that made the person, not made, something that could somehow know the person was being compassionate, right? And they were getting paid for it by the guy, by an advanced system, you know, political system. I'm saying that the era of like unleashing the raw artistic roar has come. I want like, you know, it's like we are in the middle of like the purest era of novelty, right? That we have so many reasons to change and experience something more advanced, but we must not forget the love we have for the all humanity. And I'm not saying like kind of like blindly love this, but I'm saying like think about how amazing it would be. Like like you cannot know you are an advanced being if the world isn't advanced. So in order to know that you are truly, in order to know that you are truly an advanced being, you have to truly be in an advanced world. So if you're not in an advanced world, you can't know you're an advanced being. So you have to be an advanced being in your inner realms, and then go and make everybody into an advanced being. Then when there's 8 billion advanced beings within an advanced civilization, then be like, what is an advanced being? Do you see what I'm saying? So anyways, Mr. Within's explanation for where everything is going is that based on what you're considering you are, your destiny is taking shape. But how it truly takes shape is in the hands of higher intelligence. So my approach is that I try to be simple to observe the complexity of my realm. But sometimes when I get tired of the complexity, I just like go into a complex ego framework. I kind of like, storify myself as the man who had a time traveler's ego. For me, my mind has interacted with probably, like, if I could envision advanced civilizations, I've walked in them in my inner realms. I know somehow there's an instantaneity to knowing by the mere instant of visualization. It's like strange. It's like everything you see, you kind of know because the brain had to access it before it could provide it, something like that. So I think there's a nanosecond where suddenly the revelation, I don't want to say revelation, but the inputting suddenly comes in the inner realm. The inner realm input, like, what a hilarious sentence. It's like, what's our inner realm input today, sir? It's like, oh my God, your inner realm input is 200%, which doesn't even make sense. Honestly, you'll see when something becomes important. This is Mr. Within's theory. Honestly, this is like my theory, that when something becomes important, people become smart automatically. It's hilarious. This whole time, something had to become important, and then life changes instantly. Now imagine the destiny of your species is important. So in honor of the advanced humanity, in honor of all those unborn future generations watching us now, the humans that are alive right now will carry the banners of advancement. They will usher forth from this moment on towards the most advanced humanity. That is the gift we are leaving behind for the future generations. Advance, because then you must advance your children. Then your children must advance their children. Do you see? And then civilization must advance new strategies. This whole time, it's like uncharted territory has been there, but we have not considered it. So the advancement of humanity is where everything is going. The species, that the way it's like as if can you imagine? Can you imagine, like, the first alien contact is us being the alien contacting another species on a different planet? It's like, no way, the first alien contact was that we were the aliens. The advancement of humanity, when those two words become beautiful for you, and when you can love the potential of greatness of your species, you will see the spirituality of the realm of objects is animation. The spirituality for a mind is revelation, is advancement, is realization, excuse me. So you must realize the real eyes of the most advanced state of your own attention. Good luck. And I hope you truly instantly realize it, and at least come and join like this Mr. Within's research program. I'm trying to create like an advanced research team of like researching metaphysics and trying to figure out like what systems can it imply. Honestly, everything's for the advancement of civilizations. To build civilization 2.0 is my purpose. I have to attempt it. I've talked too much about it. Like, it's like that's where my heart is at the end of the day. The future that's coming. What quality will it be received by the species? What quality of attention are human beings having? What is the greatest strategy? Does the greatest strategy exist at all? What if there was an army of strategists? What if the mind of man surprised itself because it was fascinated by how advanced the world could be? Some gifts are within you. Are you ready to open them? Thank you for listening.